And you've just heard Verdant by Mount Doubt, taken from the reissued album In Awe of Nothing. And I'm delighted to be joined now by Mount Doubt frontman Leo Bargery. Hello, Leo.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So how do you look back on In Awe of Nothing? Because how old is it now? 5 years?
5 years, yeah. It came out 2016. Yeah, so quite old now, I guess.
In the scope of things, it was a very different world 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
But so how do you look back on those songs? You look back with fondness, or do you see them as being very different from what you do now?
I mean, I suppose sonically they are quite different to Doubtlings that came out last year. But I mean, I obviously, I mean, I wrote them, so I still kind of feel, as songs, they still kind of feel like mine. Which is quite nice. But yeah, I suppose listening back, there was quite a clear development, but I don't feel any sort of shame or real cringing, I suppose. So they've not aged horrendously.
No, I guess if you thought that, you certainly wouldn't be putting them back out. But I think it's an album that really has stood the test of time. I've got my copy here for the video, so my original.
Oh, very nice.
And it really is. So what was the reason that you've decided to bring it back out?
I mean, I guess it's 5 years, and it's quite nice that we're still doing this after that kind of length of time. I know a lot of bands that are kind of level on this kind of local circuit, a lot of bands don't keep going. So it was just kind of to celebrate that, really. I mean, and we are proud of that album. We put it out with Scottish Fiction, Neil Wilson, who I know you know, who we're not working with as a label anymore. And obviously have a really good relationship with him. So it's kind of an acknowledgement of that as well, I suppose. And at the time, although kind of on a small scale, the album was received like relatively positively, it never really got a big reception or anything. So I guess it's kind of giving it another little boost, really, to let people hear it and let people know that we've got more music. Really.
That's a good point. But do you think the culture of releasing music and perhaps making music, but certainly releasing music, has changed in those 5 years?
I'm not sure. Maybe. I mean, I'm not overly conscious of it myself because I've always kind of just had the same attitude towards doing it. I've always really liked albums. I don't really like, and this isn't a criticism of anyone putting out EPs or anything like that, because there's so many good reasons for doing them. Yeah. I've just always really liked listening to and trying to write albums. So for me, that's always been my kind of focus and aim, just to write a record. I mean, we have put out a couple of EPs because sometimes it's financially much more viable. But yeah, I've stuck with the kind of ethos of wanting to write records and put out records and hoping that there's people that are going to listen to them.
And actually, it strikes me that 5 years ago, not many Scottish bands would have been putting out albums on vinyl. It's now come around again and it's happening much more. But back then, it would have been fairly rare, I think.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. It might have been slightly ahead of the kind of boom. I mean, that is primarily thanks to Neil from Scottish Fiction, who you mentioned. So I won't take the full credit for that. But yeah, it's nice.
But I was just thinking, because I was obviously into getting Scottish music as much as I am now back then, but I can get a lot more on vinyl now than I could back then, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me on to Doubtlings. Let's have a chat about that, because that's with Last Night from Glasgow, who obviously put everything out on vinyl. So it came out last year. How do you feel about that album a kind of year on?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similarly to In Awe of Nothing, really. I mean, there's a kind of natural detachment from it, because obviously at the time that album comes out, we'd recorded that a year before it came out. And then before that, I'd written a lot of those songs maybe a year or 2 years before recording it. So by the time they come out, those songs for me are maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years old. So you've kind of naturally moved beyond maybe what, obviously, when you write the song, it maybe means something to you or has a certain resonance, whatever. And that obviously over time sort of erodes or wears off a little bit. So by the time they come out, they feel a little bit distant almost, and that just kind of keeps going. But again, like it's another record that I'm proud of. I'm very happy with all the songs, and again, people seem to like it on a modest scale, which is nice. So that's fine.
It was, I'll be honest, it was one of my favourite albums of the year. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
One I still play today. But that's interesting what you're saying. It's almost, are you constantly writing new songs? Are you one of these musicians that there's always the kind of next thing that you're moving on to?
I mean, yeah, so it's probably, I mean, it's good because obviously you're forcing yourself to write all the time. And I do write a lot of rubbish as well. But I do kind of force myself just to write all the time. So I'll get excited, and then I've got a folder in my phone of all the I make artwork for albums that will just never be released, and I have all the track listings, but then all the songs get replaced every kind of couple of weeks because you think, oh, that one's better than that one, and all that. But yeah, I've got a few albums written start to finish that I would like to do something with, but I'm sure they'll get lost in a sea of new songs probably.
But during the kind of lockdown period, you did a lot of live performances from home and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And was that a way of kind of getting the new music out there and trying some new stuff?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I wrote a lot during that time. So I'm at my mum's house tonight for the first time pretty much since lockdown, which is just a coincidence. But in that time when we literally couldn't go out and I wasn't going to work or anything, I kind of tried to approach it as a, pardon me, a kind of full-time job, almost kind of get up. And I tried to just write a song every day, and I was recording on my phone, just in like the kind of garage band app you can do. And I just set myself that as a target every day, write something new. And even like if 60% of the time you're never going to use it, you might get one lyric or one little idea that you can carry into something else. And doing the live streams, like you mentioned, was really good in kind of whittling down those ideas, seeing what people kind of seem to respond well to, and just sort of hone the songs, I guess. So it was quite useful.
And so for you, was there kind of pros and cons about having to or making music during the COVID period? You know, I guess releasing an album wasn't ideal because of all sorts of reasons, but you were writing, it sounds like more than ever.
Yeah, I was writing a lot. Obviously, the downsides were not being able to play with the band, not being able to play live shows. But even with releasing the record during the lockdowns, I don't think it's necessarily been that bad a thing because people were looking for things to do. People kind of maybe were actually shifting their attention back onto listening to records or watching films in a way that maybe gets lost when, I don't know, you can go to the pub or there's a K-lay on or a bingo night or something, So I'm not sure how detrimental it actually was for people listening and engaging with the record.
No, I think that's right. I really enjoyed the time. I'm actually quite fearful of the time now that going back out, then how am I going to listen to albums and read books?
Yeah.
I don't want to lose that. Although I'm looking forward to kind of getting back out. With that in mind, you are now playing live again. You're actually going out. How good has it been to kind of go out and do that kind of thing again?
It was nice, yeah. I came back and did an acoustic show with Siobhan Wilson, which was really nice, at Summer Hall, which was quite a nice way to kind of ease back in because it was all seated. It was quite relaxed. Very civilized. And then we had our own show in Edinburgh, which was kind of full band, kind of live setup, which did feel weird being in that environment again. It was sort of equal parts, deeply bizarre and really nice. We all got really unwell. None of us got COVID, but we all got a really horrendous cold from having done it. So that was a bit alarming, but it was, it was a lot of fun. So,
And is there plans? Are there plans to play live some more? Is there an idea to maybe tour Doubtlings or something similar?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to organise just pretty much as many shows as I can for next year. I'm in a sort of constant loop of trying to convince myself that I should give up my job and just do music, but that would really rely on playing all the time, which is difficult. We're playing Edinburgh again, so that the show we did was kind of a bit of a warm up, just kind of easing ourselves back into it. It's pretty much a new band lineup as well. So we're doing a bigger Edinburgh show on December the 1st at Voodoo Rooms with, well, we're co-headlining a bunch of shows with Constant Follower.
Oh, brilliant.
So we're playing Voodoo Rooms with them with support from Heir of the Cursed, which should be a really nice night. And the night after, December 2nd, we're going down to Mac Arts in Galshiels with the Constant Follower guys. And then, yeah, we'll see. We're just trying to line up a bunch of stuff for January. I will definitely be in Glasgow at some point soon, but nothing's confirmed yet.
That's fantastic. I saw Constant Follower play the Glad Cafe just the other week. And
Yeah.
Great night. So they sound like fantastic gigs.
Yeah, they should be fun. I really like them. I really like their record, so yeah. I'm sure it'll be fun.
Great. And what about future recordings? You say you've got all these songs that you've written down. Have any plans for them or none as yet?
There'll be I'm not sure what I can say whatever I want. There'll definitely be a new Mount Out record next year.
Right.
At some point, I don't know when. So we're going to be starting to record that at the end of October. And then just see what happens. But yeah, so yeah, there'll be a new record, and then after that there'll be another new record. And if things go to plan, that process will just continue on and on and on indefinitely.
Fantastic. Well, that's magnificent. Listen, Leo, thanks for taking time to have a chat. I really do appreciate it. And from In Of Nothing, this is Sheer and Utter.